Hey everybody, it's Luke over at Galaxy Tech Review, and today I've got a Grand Theft Auto 5 on the MSI GT62VR with that GTX 1070, and as usual, we'll be able to see that we have MSI Afterburner running in the upper left-hand corner, having GPU temperature, frames per second, CPU temperature, and system RAM utilization as well. This game is highly popular. People have been asking me to review this, so let's go over our settings here. I'll show you what I have this set up as. Under Display, Graphics, you're going to see that we are on DirectX 11. We are at 1080p. Let me go back here. 60 Hertz, because that is the refresh rate of my monitor. FXAA is on. MSAA is 4 times. Nvidia TXAA is on. VSync is off, so you can see that true frame rate. Everything else is set to the default here as far as variety, scaling, and density. And then everything is set to very high or ultra. Reflection is 8x. Very high there. You can see ultra. I turn motion blur off because I don't particularly like it in game. Filtering is set to 16 times, and tessellation is also on very high. So this is pretty much the ultra preset. With some of the renderings at 50% there. So this is pretty much maxed out. We could add a few things like our distance scaling. We could up those to 100 if we want, but there's not too much impact on game on that. So 50% is pretty much a baseline there. Now under advanced graphics, you're going to see that long shadows are on, high resolution shadows are on, and high detail streaming while flying are all on, and extended scaling and distance are both at 50% again. Frame scaling mode, of course, is off, so that you know we're going to be playing at 1080p. Looking at thermals, we're at 64 degrees on the GPU. We're about mid-80s, 80 to 80, even upwards of 90 to 100 on the frames per second. So far, so good on that. When we get into some driving situations, you're going to see how that dips. And it does usually with driving in this particular game is where you're going to see the biggest frame dip. 70 degrees on the CPU at the moment, 69, 70 degrees, and 6.7 gigabytes of that 16 gigabytes of system RAM. But you can see we're in town, so there are cars going around, there are people walking around. In-town areas are going to be the hardest hit here, and we're still at about mid-80s to 90 frames a second at the moment. So overall, very, very good. Looks very, very good. I'm playing with a keyboard and a mouse, so excuse my gameplay if it's a little jerky. I'm usually used to hooking up a controller to play this particular game just because it's easier overall, I find, for me to use a controller. But so far, everything is really good here. I'm just checking my settings here because of the keyboard and mouse key binding. I want to take a look at those real quick just to get my bearings really quickly to see what is bound to what. Again, usually I just use a controller and Xbox One controller via Bluetooth. So I just need to get my bearings here really quickly on what I'm doing with certain things that normally would just be like the X button or the Y button, but no big deal. So as you can see here again, 80 to 85 frames a second, and then it dips a little bit when you get into bigger buildings, that type of thing, but still holds pretty close to that 80 frames a second. Let's do some driving real quickly and show you guys what happens when we drive. A lot of times when you're driving through cities with a lot of other cars and a lot of people walking on the sidewalks is where you're going to get that hit. Right now we're still holding at 70 to 75 frames per second with a little bit of a dip into the upper 60s. So overall, it is a great experience on the GTX 1070. So if you're going to get a laptop with a GTX 1070, these are the kind of performance stats that you're going to see on the GTX 1070. It can definitely handle this game on pretty much maxed out settings. If you want to add some of the render sliders up to 100, you can do that as well. You may lose a few frames per second here or there, but overall a very playable experience between say 70 frames per second and 80 frames per second average. I'll let you guys check out the rest of the gameplay, me just driving around and messing around here, and then I will be back at the end.
Ooh, too close! Hey man, what's up? What's up now, motherfucker? Take a car now that I see you walking around. Oh, you screwed up my car! Excuse me. Oh, shit. Good God. Don't act like a tough guy. Ah! What is this bullshit? What is this shit?
Come on, let old Tanya treat you real nice. I ain't got no diseases. I ain't got nothing wrong with me. Clean and serene, baby.
Come on, seriously? Let me ask you a question. You get a lot of business using those lines?
I do aight.
Ooh, alright then, I'm sure you do.
What you scared of? Shit.
Me? Shit, I'm scared of a whole lot of things. Hey, you take care now.
Wait, I'll show you a good time. I like a big boy. Hey. Hey, won't somebody come over here and show a girl a good time? Ain't gonna cost you much. Hey, Cracker.
you get a cab here as soon as possible?
On its way, sir. Thanks for calling.
Okay, thanks for your help.
So, where do you want to go?
Rockford Hills.
All right, let's hit the road. That's the ride, my man.
So there's GTA 5 on the MSI GT62VR with that GTX 1070. Thermals held in there great, 67 degrees on the GPU, 72 degrees on the CPU using 8.6 gigabytes of our system RAM. If we go in and check our graphics settings again, which we will do just to kind of recap on what we've got here, you have DirectX 11 1080p at 60 Hertz, FXA is on, MSA is 4 times, NVIDIA TXA is on, your population density, population variety, and distance scaling are all on 50%. Texture quality, shader quality, shadow quality all on very high, and ultra for the settings that can be set to ultra. So overall, this is pretty much the ultra preset at 1080p with some of those scales hit at 50%, just like extended distance scaling and shadows distance, which really don't impact gameplay but will suck up some frames per second. This game is absolutely beautiful at these settings. Long shadows, high resolution shadows, and high detail streaming while flying were also on. So, if you want to see any other games on the GTX 1074 laptops or this specific laptop, please leave them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. This was Luke from Galaxy Tech Review. Leave a like if you liked the video, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so because that always helps me out, and I'll check you guys out on the next video.